Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the MMA Corner post-fight wrap-up. As tonight, we come at you live on the heels of UFC Fight Night 40, Brown versus Silva. Tonight's episode is brought to you by BattleBomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Check them out. Audio for tonight's episode is powered by Soul, Power, Clarity, Comfort. SoulElectronics.com. Get you some. I'm your host for tonight's episode, Josh Davis, alongside featured columnists at the MMAcorner.com, Zach Miller and Jason Shelkey. Guys, one hell of an episode, one hell of an event tonight, from top to bottom. Prelims, mid prelims, main card, excellent night of fights, especially for free. And then the main event. I mean, holy crap, what can you say about that? Back and forth action. Excellent night of fights. I was freaking stoked. I thought it was a great event. Solid card. Again, UFC putting on great events for the fans, and they're doing it for free. Jason, give us your thoughts on the overall card.
Overall, it was really good, albeit really long. But yeah, I mean, I was really impressed by all the fights tonight. It was a great night of fights. That, if I'm gonna spend 6.5 hours watching fights, I'm glad I got to see these. So, totally good night.
Zach, give us your thoughts.
Well, Josh, it's 1:15 a.m. in the East Coast. It's a little late, but whatever. It's all good. Main event fired me up. Once again, I'm fired up here on the wrap-up show. But yeah, I mean, it's hard not to have your adrenaline pumping after that main event. That was one for the books, and we'll be talking about that one, I'm sure, for a while.
Yeah, we will. And a couple of things before we get into wrapping up the main card for everybody. Jason, I have to agree with you. It was one long night of fights, and I'm a fight fan first and foremost. That's why I do all this other stuff, because I am a fan of the sport. I don't need to see all that analysts and all of that kind of stuff during the middle of an event. You don't see that stuff on a pay-per-view event. I understand it's Fox and all this kind of stuff, but when you add the 10 minutes between fights of the analyst coverage, and then you add the additional 8 minutes of commercials between fights, it makes for a long event. And imagine if you were one of the people there in attendance. That's a long ass day. And so I do think the UFC and Fox needs to figure something out, because there's got to be a happy medium. They can't keep doing this stuff. Maybe they will, but I think they've got to eliminate either the commercials, which they can't do, or some of the analytic coverage, but they got to do something to shorten these events. Real quickly, before we get into the main card, I have to ask right off the bat, with this victory by Matt Brown, is he the next title contender? Does he need another victory? What are your guys' thoughts? Where does this victory put him in the division? I mean, because the welterweight division is freaking stacked, and there's a lot of guys out there. So, Zach, let's start with you. Where does this victory put him?
This victory certainly proves a lot about what we already knew about Matt Brown. He's very tough. He's very violent. He comes straight forward. He's not super flashy. He's just get in there, do his business, get out. Unfortunately, for those Matt Brown fans, as entertaining and as emotion-filled as that victory was, I'm not going to get wrapped up in that. He still needs a top 10 win, in my opinion, before he gets that title shot. Like you said, Josh, look at that division. Tyron Woodley, Rory McDonald, Carlos Condit, Robbie Lawler. You can go on and on and on. And frankly, with all respect to Eric Silva, I'm thinking about if Hector Lombard had him in that situation where his body was hurt, would Matt Brown have survived? And I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no, but the fact is, I think we need to see what would happen before we put him in that title shot. So I'd like to see one more fight, title eliminator, maybe Hector Lombard, and then we'll see who's next in line for the belt.
And you bring up a good point there. I love Eric Silva. I'm a huge Eric Silva fan. But he had Matt Brown hurt, and he did not show the killer instinct to get it done. Yeah, he went for the choke and all that kind of stuff, but he could have finished the fight with just a couple more body punches, and he didn't do that. I think someone like Hector Lombard, definitely someone like Carlos Condit when he's healthy, those guys do have that killer instinct. I think Rory McDonald does too, or at least the old Rory McDonald. I don't know about this guy that's currently walking around claiming to be him, but the original Rory McDonald certainly had that killer instinct, and they would have gone in and finished the fight. Eric Silva, he's never really been that guy. He's all finesse and flash, and again, that's what we saw tonight. But I don't know. I think he's on a 7-fight win streak. I mean, it's tough to say that a guy who's on a 7-fight win streak doesn't deserve a title shot. But again, and it's no disrespect to Matt Brown, but when I look at the guys that are in front of him, a Jake Ellenberger, that's worthless as far as I'm concerned. So we'll take that one out of there. But you have Hector Lombard, you have Rory McDonald, you have Robbie Lawler, you have Tyrone Woodley, and you have Carlos Condit. And then if you wanted to throw Jake in there, those are the 6 guys that are ranked ahead of him. I mean, seriously, who's Matt Brown going to beat out of those guys and say, you know what, I deserve a shot instead of you? As much as I love Matt Brown, I think every one of those guys, should beat Matt Brown. So I don't know. I want to see him against another top 10 guy. Jason, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts pretty much echo your guys' thoughts. But I do, first off, really hope Eric Silva's okay. Word out Cincinnati, he got taken out on a stretcher, so really hope he's okay first and foremost. As far as Matt Brown goes, he's been flying under the radar for a long, long time, and Justin Fuller has been pointing that out for a long, long time, and Matt Brown's starting to slowly show why he deserves to be in the position that he's in. But I would like to see him fight Hector Lombard, the winner of Ellenberger Lawler, or make the fight with Carlos Condit finally happen. I'd like to see him take one of those, something along those lines before we start talking about throwing him up against Johnny Hendricks. Because I don't think he's earned a shot at Hendricks yet. I think he needs a win over a top 5 guy first.
Yeah, and Hendricks is another guy. If he would have hit him in the body, Hendricks has that killer instinct. He would have gone back to it and probably finished the fight. Now, I want to throw a name out there, and the name I'm going to throw out there, I know this person's not going to take the fight, but I think it would be one exciting fight. I would love to see these 2 go at it. I think it would put a lot of butts in the seat, a lot of pay-per-view buys, and yeah, I'd love to see it. So, Nick Diaz, what do you guys think about that? Nick Diaz versus Matt Brown. Give me your thoughts, Zach.
I mean, on paper, of course, 2 guys that go in there to scrap, but that's been Nick Diaz's, why he's avoided the Carlos Condit rematch, or not avoided, but rather hasn't come back for the Carlos Condit rematch when it was offered, because he doesn't want to fight guys that are just going to, fight with the game plan, circle, 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 and not engage. He's that kind of guy who just likes to scrap, like Matt Brown, likes to get in there. I think his biggest thing is, and similar with his brother Nate, they understand, as they're so ironic in that, while they seem like these kind of stocked in just thugs that seem, like they don't know too much, they know what they're doing. And the fact is that they're not going to come back until they're going to get paid a significant amount more. So I'm not sure when that will ever happen for either Nick or Nate. That's part of the politics game of, the MMA sports world. But on paper, is that fight entertaining? Yes. And would that fight sell? Yes, of course. I don't know any MMA fan who wouldn't want to watch that fight. The question, and I think that Matt Brown would fight Nick Diaz in a heartbeat. I don't know, though, about Nick Diaz coming back. That's the real X factor. And I think history can prove that you shouldn't bank on Nick Diaz if you're trying to go get something for sure. So I don't know about that one. But I like the fight on paper.
Jason, give us your thoughts.
Don't be scared, homie.
Exactly. Don't be scared. And I do like the fight. And honestly, Nick's not asking for a whole lot of money. Uh, he wants a flat fee of $500 to fight, and when you're Nick Diaz, really that's not that big of a paycheck. When someone like Rashad Evans is getting $450,000 flat fee to show up, no win bonus, just 450,000 flat fee, and then whatever percentage of pay-per-view buys. For Nick to ask for 500,000, that's not unrealistic. That's not asking for a pay-per-view percentage either, just a flat pay me $500,000 to come in and fight. Really, that's not that outrageous. If you look at what true main eventers in the UFC are getting paid, the money that Nick's asking for is not out of line, because whether you like Nick or you hate Nick, you want to see Nick fight, and you either want to see him win or get his ass kicked. So people are going to pay to see regardless. So I don't know. Give him the money. Let's make it happen. Let's bring him back. Don't be scared. All right. Enough babbling about a whole bunch of nonsense. Let's get on to the main card. I mean, holy crap, guys! Again, from top to bottom, this fight card was pimped. It was slick. There were excellent knockouts, solid submissions, all the TKOs, all of that kind of stuff. Again, questionable decisions, but that's what MMA is. That's why we watch. That's what we want to see. So let's start it off. First fight of the night. Louis Smolka and Chris Carriazo. Jason, give us your thoughts on it first, and then Zach, follow it up.
I was really impressed by Carriazo. I thought he had his way the entire fight. Louis Smolka, he didn't really do all that much in the fight. I mean, he marched forward, he ate some punches. I don't know how anybody scored that fight for him, to be perfectly honest. I think that it was a clear victory for Carriazo, but then again, it just goes to show you that you never know what the judges are going to say whenever it comes time to render a decision. And that's why Dana White constantly preaches, don't leave it in the hands of the judges, because Carriazo could have very easily lost that fight just because of the incompetence of the judges. So, but it was a good scrappy fight, and props to both guys for going out there and putting on an entertaining show.
So let me ask you this: how'd you score the fight?
I had it easy 29-28 for Carriazo.
Okay. All right. Zach, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, pretty much with Jason there. I think I gave the first round to Smolka, if I recall correctly, but not really sure how you give him the fight. I think basically, though, with Carriazo too, neither guy really took that much damage. I think that Carriazo, we'll see how he does going forward. I think with Smolka, though, I think he's going to improve a lot after this fight. He's younger than me. He's 22 years old. And I think that a lot of that loss was a mental lapse. I don't think he ever got that physically dominated in the fight, but there were definitely some questions about game plan. What are you doing there? There were times where he was charging forward, starting to put together combinations on the feet, looking good. And then all of a sudden he clinches up against the cage, gets turned around, and ends up getting worked there. So I'm not sure if so much it's a physical lapse that we saw as much as a mental one. I think Smolka could still have a bright future. He's very young. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, it was a competitive fight.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid fight. I don't think that Smolka won it. I question the judge that gave it to him as well, but I certainly did give him the first round, and I thought he had some bright spots, but he's a young kid, like you said, 22 years old. He's only 7-1 now, so he's only got 8 fights under his belt. So he does have a lot of learning to do, but I do think the loss tonight was game plan, coaching, that kind of stuff. Because, he had his opportunities to really put a stamp down. He was doing well in certain aspects of the striking, and then he'd go to to just really hug him up against the cage. And like you said, Zach, he lost position and got schooled in a lot of ways, ended up losing the fight. But all in all, for the most part, I would say out of that 15 minutes, there's probably a good solid 10 minutes of action. So it was a solid fight. I look for both of these guys to come back and do well in the UFC. And while Chris is a beast, there's no question about that. And as he continues to evolve, he's truly going to be a stud. But I really want to see more of Smoke. Yes, he did lose the fight tonight, but he's a young kid. He's got a lot of potential, a lot of skills. So I want to see him back. I want to see what the future holds for him. All right. And what was probably the craziest moment of the night, we had Saul Pelele versus Ruan Potts. And you know, first off, if you didn't know who Ruan Potts was, he was the EFA Africa champion, and the guy's a beast over in Africa and South Africa. He pretty much destroyed everybody he faced except for one guy in which he got his rematch victory over. But he was a beast, and there was a lot of hype coming out of his camp, coming out of Europe and South Africa and all those areas about this guy. And so the UFC brought him in, and oh my God, Pelé. Like he put it on him. I mean, what can you say about Solo? That guy he is swinging sledgehammers, that's for sure. And while this fight did not last long, the post-fight song, that was the best thing about it. I mean, it was a beautiful knockout, but the post-fight karaoke, I mean, you can't get any better than that. It was a great win for Sal, and I look forward to seeing him again because I think he's a beast. As far as Potts goes, I don't know where you go from here. I know he's got a lot of skills, but here's the thing. The punch that knocked him out was not that significant. And while Pelele does hit hard, I've got to question dude's chin. And if you're not going to be able to take those shots, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself in the heavyweight division. Zach, give us your thoughts, Jason. Follow them up.
Pretty much just summed it all up there. Yeah, not only the song, which was, I mean, I just became a huge fan of Pelele about everything. The song, which was so unrelated, it was perfect. The kissing the ref after stopping the fight, that was like, I feel like Twitter wasn't exploding enough about it. Like, that was hilarious. Like, on multiple counts, there was a lot of funny stuff going on there. It was funny, too, because I was talking on Twitter about the Smolka fight, how Smolka had gotten mount and how, jiu-jitsu had developed so much in MMA, how guys weren't finishing from mount anymore. And then, of course, Pelele from mount, boom, just like knocks him out with the left. But yeah, it was a weird left hand. It was not the strongest left hand, which, Pelele is definitely a beast. He's strong, but you have to question that chin of Potts. I'm just really happy to become this new convert for Pelele. I'm excited to keep seeing what quirky stuff he does inside, outside the cage, But it was a good performance. Looking forward for more Pelele.
Yeah, you guys pretty much summed it all up. I want to see more Hulk smash. That was just, some of that stuff was just so entertaining. The kissing the ref, and then after he kissed the ref, it's like he was looking over at Potts. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was making sure he was okay. I don't know if he was smack talking. I mean, who knows what was going on there? But he was hovering over him, saying something. Be interested to see what was going on there, and he definitely needs to take some singing lessons from The Rock. Yeah, his singing it was a little off key there, but yeah, I mean, just his performance in general, and then all the post-fight stuff. That's how you can be entertaining without being too brash and coming across as a jerk. And that's what I found most entertaining about it. And I can't wait to see him more in the UFC. That besides the main event, that was definitely the highlight of the night for me.
Well, I think he was serenading Potts. I think he was singing him a song and asking him if he needs a kiss too. Just one of those things.
Oh God.
Who knows? But yeah, it was a great win for him. And great, seriously, great way to handle it. You come out, you sing a little song, have fun with it. Yeah, I look forward to seeing him uh, back in the octagon here pretty soon. All right, moving right along. Neil Magny versus Tim Means. Uh, I don't know what even to say about this fight, so I'm going to let Shelky start us off.
Tim Means gave this fight away. The fight was his, and he threw it in the third. Um, yeah, because everybody thought that. I mean, if he would just kept the pressure on, he would have won the majority decision, or it would have been a split decision. I'm sorry, because one judge gave every round to Magny. How that happened, I have no clue. But I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss too because I don't know if it was a really good performance by Magny or if it was just a huge throw by Means. I'm starting to lean towards the throw part. But yeah, it was an odd fight, odd scoring. I don't know how anybody could have given Magny all 3 rounds, to be perfectly honest. Another case of judges need to be drug tested after the event with the fighters. But I mean, neither of these guys really came out and impressed me, really. It was kind of lackluster, and if Means hadn't just thrown that 3rd round, I thought he would have won the fight, but the throws are real.
Zach, give us your thoughts.
With Jason here, it's like a meh. It was a whatever. It was a whatever fight. It's a forgettable fight. I mean, I think I read online from the Fightnomics guy for the stats that it was that Magny has, I think, the longest reach in the welterweight division with 81 inches,
Yep.
something ridiculous like that. And it's like, where was the reach? Where was the jab? Where was any of that, He needs to start using that height, that natural height, and start fighting taller. There's some guys you see like Lim, the Korean fighter, who's just huge. He's this big dude, but then he'll just get in there in the pocket and try to slug it out. It's like, you were born with all this height, all this reach. Use it. That's how you're gonna win. And I think that Magny has to develop that more. Other than that, like Jason said, how you give all 3 rounds, I don't know. But again, here we are talking about how MMA judging sucks. Surprise, surprise. But that's what I took away from it. Magny has to learn how to use all 81 inches and start jabbing people in the face.
Yeah, it was terrible. First off, again, whatever judge scored that all 3 rounds for Magny is an idiot and really should be suspended. I mean, that was terrible. But with that being said, Neil danced around. He definitely was on his bicycle all night long, danced around. He frustrated Tim, and that's what got him the victory in the 3rd round, because he had just frustrated the crap out of Tim, and Tim basically just gave up. It was terrible, but that was not an exciting fight. It was a garbage fight. And, I like Neil. He trains here in Colorado. He trains at the Elevation Fight Team just right down the street from where I live, not too far from where I train. I have worked with those fighters. I've trained over there as well. It's a hell of a gym. Lester Boland's a hell of a coach. Christian Allen's a hell of a coach. They have a great team. But whatever Neil was doing tonight was garbage. He does need to use his 81-inch reach for his size. That's insane. He's got to be like John Jones and really using that to his advantage. But he didn't. He just ran around. It was another night of Dancing with the Stars and all that kind of crap. And, he did get the victory, but after the fight, even Tim Means, wouldn't shake his hand, was telling him that he was weak for dancing and not wanting to fight. And, I get you want the victory, you want your win bonus and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the night, the fans that paid to see that, everyone who bought their ticket paid to see you fight, not run around in circles. So it was a good win for him. We can't take anything away from it. But again, from a fan standpoint, it sucked to watch. All right, moving right on to a fight that did not suck to watch. That for the 3 minutes and 21 seconds that it did last, it was exciting. Darren Cruikshank versus Eric Cope. Now, I have to be honest. I thought Coke was going to win this fight. I thought Coke was the better fighter. I thought he's obviously the more experienced fighter. He's the more well-rounded fighter. I thought he'd be able to use some takedown attempts. Whether or not he got them was irrelevant, but just to dictate the pace of the fight, I thought he'd be able to use his MMA striking more effectively than Cruikshank would be able to use his karate, taekwondo type of stuff. I was wrong. Coke was wrong. He got kicked upside the head, ate a couple elbows, and that was that. Darren's proven that, his style is going to work. If he connects, you're going to sleep. And it was one hell of a win getting that victory over Eric Koch, because Koch's no joke. I mean, he's a hell of a competitor. He's certainly a gatekeeper of any division that he's in. So, it's a quality win. Zach, give us your thoughts. Shoki, follow him up.
First off, Josh, I like that line. I feel like you should trademark that. Coke's no joke. Second off, yeah, I mean, Coke was coming in, he looked so good at 155 when he went back to that division, did it at 145, kind of fell into that gatekeeper status, like you said. But boy, oh boy, man, Cruikshank messed that dude up. It was competitive until then, too, but Cruikshank really showed how you can apply taekwondo or karate in the cage. It was, I believe, a right head kick, and then it was a consecutive left head kick that really caught him there, and then followed up with strikes. There was some stuff I read online where people were complaining about a late stoppage. It might have been a little late. I think the ref was giving him a fair amount of time to come to his senses and defend. But I didn't really have a problem with that. But yeah, it was a very nice win for Cruikshank. I mean, the problem has always been with him. We've seen this is his third head kick KO/TKO. He's clearly talented. He's clearly has knockout power, but the problem has always been with him consistency. I mean, he even said it after in his post-fight interview. He's like, I was wondering if I was going to show up, and I guess I showed up tonight. I understand that he maybe was joking a little bit, but that can't be your mentality if you want to be the very best in the UFC, especially in the 155 division, which is full of just animals. So, I mean, we'll see with Cruikshank going forward. Maybe he can string together some wins. But, yeah, it was a great knockout, great win.
Yeah, I'm with Zach on this one, where I was really surprised by Cruikshank. I thought he went out there. I thought he looked really damn good. But I do disagree with him about the stoppage. I think that this referee went to Herb Dean's school of refereeing, and I think that he let it go a little bit too long, because it was clear after about the first 7 punches that, that Coke wasn't going to put up much defense at that point in time after eating all those punches and taking a foot upside the head, and to allow Cruikshank to land about 15 more punches, I think was a little, I don't want to say little, it was excessive. I think, just glad that Coke's okay, not seriously hurt. But yeah, Cruikshank, Zach said that he made that joke after his post-fight interview, but there's a little truth behind every joke. And you can't lack confidence in a division as stacked as 155, or else you're just going to get smashed. And so, I hope Cruikshank gets his head right, and if he does, he could be a real threat in the division. But we have to, see more of him moving forward.
Well, I think we got to see a whole lot more of his skills evolved. He still needs a ground game, all that kind of stuff. But he does have skills. He's got talent. So, great win tonight. What can you say? And as far as the stoppage being late, Coke ate some punches, and he was certainly eating some forearms to the chin and that kind of stuff. But he still, even when the fight was stopped, was intelligently defending himself. He didn't think that the fight should have been stopped at that time. So, I won't bitch about this one as much as I have about the past. But again, all refs should be going to the same school. There should be seriously a MMA or combat sport officiating school, and every ref should have to graduate from the school so everyone is on the same page. But it is what it is. Moving right along to another excellent 3 minute and 47-second long fight. Kostas Philippou versus Lorenz Larkin. You know, now on paper, obviously, we all knew this fight was going to be fireworks. We have two heavy-handed punchers going at it, and these guys produced. What can you say, Zach? Or actually, let's go, Jason. Start us off, Zach. Follow it off.
Philippou, this is what he did. He went in there, he landed the right and the left, and he was done, man. It was beautiful, and it was a win that he really needed too. Coming off those losses, he needed to look good and to have a win like this in order to stay relevant at 85, as did Lorenz Larkin. These guys both needed that fight, but it was clear who wanted it more. Lorenz Larkin, he's in that kind of situation now. It's like, what are you going to do with the dude? And with Costa Philippou, he's, hanging on to being a contender. I don't want to say contender, but he's hanging on to that rank, a ranking in the division where not too long ago, he was, like 6 or 7? And now he's, fighting just to keep his status as a top 15 in the division. So, it was a much-needed win, and Lorenz Larkin really needs to fire his barber.
Zach, give us your thoughts.
First off, don't hate on my boy Lorenz Larkin's Riverside haircut. Always repping his hometown. But yeah, I mean, I like Lorenz Larkin. We've talked a few times. At first I thought, because last time I talked to him was before the Brad Tavares fight, I thought I was just accursed for Lorenz Larkin. But, then it kind of struck me that that's ridiculous because I'm sure a ton of reporters have talked to him multiple times. But basically what I think it comes down to is that, with all respect to Lorenz, I like him, but when you look at his record, he is not a finisher. As many kicks as he throws and as unconventional as he is with his striking, he does not typically finish guys. And I think that with a guy like Kostas Philippou, if you're going to do that kind of you got to finish the guy. Look at Luke Rockhold. When he went out there and tried that kind of kickboxing stuff, it was with bad intentions. Not to say that Lorenz isn't trying to finish the fight, but, the difference is that Luke Rockhold, I think, in his fight with Kostas, utilized the strengths of kickboxing to get rid of Philippou's boxing, in that he used his distance with his kicks to neutralize Philippou's boxing and get the finish with that liver kick, or it might have been a spleen kick. I can't remember exactly. With Larkin, what we saw tonight is he just basically, from his Tavares fight, he talked to me about how he needed to be more aggressive, and that basically translated to him brawling. And you do not want to brawl against a guy who boxed for the Greek national team. You do not want to brawl against a technical boxer, because you will see what just happened there. He got knocked out. You will get caught. So unless, you're really using your distance and using a technical kickboxing approach to the fight, I don't think, rarely will you see someone beat a boxer as good as Kostas Philippou. What I think you do with Philippou, I thought, after he won the fight, I'd like to see Philippou versus Tim Kennedy. I think that would be an exciting fight, seeing as the rest of the division is kind of at a standstill right now with Weidman being booked with Machida, the whole Vitor situation, and then Anderson's coming back. I guess he just got cleared to train. We'll see what happens. But Lorenz, it's like, yeah, what do you do with the guy? He's clearly physically talented, but, I mean, he's already kind of looking like a gatekeeper, and he's had 3 or 4 fights in the UFC, which isn't a good sign for him. And Philippou, I think he could come back. I don't know if he'll ever be in a title fight, but, I mean, I think he could give guys like Tim Kennedy, I think he could still give some top 10 guys problems. So I'd like to see that matchup next, I guess.
Kostas is the guy. When you hit as hard as he does, and you have the boxing skills that he does, and the fact that he can knock anybody out on any given night, yeah, he's always going to be relevant because of those skills right there. Is he going to be fighting Weidman or whoever for a title anytime soon? Probably not. But the guy, when his head is on straight and he's actually mentally dialed in and ready to compete, he certainly is a top 10 middleweight. So I do want to see him back. The Tim Kennedy fight, that kind of intrigues me. I think he probably put Tim Kennedy to sleep. So yeah, that's certainly a fight that I think makes sense, and it would make sense for the UFC. So we'll have to see how they go. As far as what's next for Lorenz Larkin, if I'm just being honest, and I've not heard this from anyone inside the UFC, but I would imagine that's probably the last that we've seen of him inside the octagon. I imagine they'll kick him down to a regional promotion, tell him to get some wins outside the UFC before bringing him back. But I could be wrong. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. All right, so main event. Now, I know there's all kinds of Twitter hubbub, fight of the year, this, that, and the other, and I'm gonna be honest. It was one hell of a fight. It was a great fight for 2.5 rounds, essentially. Fight of the year, all that kind of stuff. Best fight ever. Let's just put the brakes on now. I want to tell you, not the case. Hell of a fight, yes, but greatest MMA fight ever, fight of the year, all that kind of stuff. Let's keep it in perspective. Now, with all that being said, it was a hell of a fight. These two went at it. Both guys had each other hurt. It was just really Matt Brown who first off showed superior cardio, second off superior heart and conditioning, all that kind of stuff, and was able to work through it and get the victory. Zach, give us your thoughts. Shelky, follow him up.
Yeah. Fight of the year, we'll see. I mean, it's just so hard to honestly, I don't want to seem like a John Jones fanboy, but goddamn, like after that John Jones-Gustafsson fight, I know that was last year, but when you look at something as just technical and great as that fight, comparing this fight to that, it's like, yes, this could end up being fight of the year, but I mean, I'm not sure. Was that first round, though, round of the year? Like one of the best rounds I've ever seen. That was awesome. That was back and forth. That was just giving it your all. That was both almost finishing. That was a crazy first round. But then, I mean, Eric Silva gassed for, I don't think he lacked any heart. I mean, that guy was taking punishment for 10 minutes, basically. That was hard to watch at certain points where you see him take knee after knee, elbow after elbow. We talked about it a bit at the beginning, but yeah, I mean, that was an incredible fight, incredible first round. I'm not sure about fight of the year. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure about Brown getting an immediate title shot. I think once everyone calms down, you know, the adrenaline gets pumped out, we'll come to our senses and make sense of it all. But I mean, I wouldn't rush Brown into a title shot or anything like that, and I certainly wouldn't write this off as the best fight of the year before. You know, it's only May. We'll see what happens.
All right, Shelky, give us your thoughts.
First off, I don't get into the whole fight of the year stuff. It's all subjective. If it's your favorite fight of the year, it's your favorite fight of the year. If it's not, it's not. It is what it is. Whatever. And latest update on Eric Silva is a concussion and a fractured jaw. Just so everybody knows. I mean, you can't question Matt Brown's heart. He was definitely hurt by the body shots from Silva. But Silva definitely showed that if he doesn't get review early, there's going to be issues because it seems like after 3 minutes, he was done. He had nothing. I mean, he had no cardio left. He was just fighting on heart. And you know, all the props to Eric Silva. He stood in there and he took an absolute beating. I mean, the end of that fight, Matt Brown's face didn't have a scratch on it, and Eric Silva, you know, unfortunately was leaving on a stretcher, which now seems to be for precautionary reasons, thankfully. But yeah, Matt Brown definitely looked good. Eric Silva, it's going to be hard to see where he stands in the welterweight division now, because he's had flashes of brilliance and then he's had flashes of this. So, you know, he's going to probably be relegated down, and there's going to be people like our own Rob Tatum that think Matt Brown deserves a title shot right now. You know, I have to disagree with Rob on that one, all the respect in the world, but yeah, so great fight.
Well, Rob's got his own opinion. He does his own thing, and if that's what he thinks, then that's what he thinks. He is on the UFC's ranking committee, so who knows? Maybe Matt Brown will be getting a title shot. Uh, Fight of the year, though, all that kind of stuff, it is subjective. I will say this, not fight of the year. It's funny how people have such short-term memories, and it's, all about the immediate crap that keeps them gratified. The best fight of 2014 so far, without question, was Johnny Hendricks versus Robbie Lawler. I'm surprised that people are even going to Matt Brown and Eric Silva because it wasn't even close. However, it was a great fight. And the first round, yes, it was great action. It brought me back to thinking of Nick Diaz versus Paul Daly back in Strikeforce. Fight went back, the round went back and forth. Both fighters were hurt. It was excellent. Same thing here. And don't get me wrong, I was not saying that Eric Silva didn't have heart because the guy does. He's got tons of heart. He's probably got 10 times more heart than I do. What I was saying, though, is Matt Brown showed more heart. And that was the key to his victory, and having the heart that he does. Most people would have quit when you take those body shots and the wind gets knocked out of you and you're sucking for air and nothing comes in and it's, it freaks people out. They want to give up. He didn't do that crap. He continued to fight through it. That's showing heart. Again, my opinion, doesn't deserve a title shot just yet, but deserves to be in the mix, deserves to fight a guy to, possibly get that title shot. He deserves to get not necessarily the Condon fight that he had to pull out of due to injury, but he deserves to get a fight like that to, again, put him in line to get that title shot. All right, guys. Quickly, final thoughts. Start with you, Jason.
Great night of fights, and don't be scared, homie.
Zach.
Got to rep, of course, the Bruins. Good night for New England. And I think keep your eye on Kyoji Horiguchi. That guy could be causing some stuff down in the 125 division.
Yeah, we'll have to agree with you 100%. Keep your eye on Kyoji. That dude is vicious. He is definitely vicious. Again, excellent night of fights. Free on Fox Sports 2, Fox Sports 1, Fight Pass. You got to love what the UFC is doing. UFC does not have an event next weekend, but we will be back doing our pre-fight prediction show as well as our post-fight wrap-up for UFC 173 Burrell versus Dillashaw. The event takes place May 24th in Vegas. So we will be back on May 22nd doing the preview show, and then obviously 24th on the post-fight wrap-up. We will be back next weekend doing the post-fight wrap-up for Bellator inaugural pay-per-view event, Bellator 120. It's now Rampage versus King Mo after the news came out that Eddie Alvarez will be out due to concussion. So it is what it is, but we will still be covering it. We will still be back next Saturday to give you the post-fight wrap-up immediately following Bellator 120. All right, guys, that is our episode for the evening. As always, tonight's episode was brought to you by BattleBomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Definitely check them out. Audio for tonight's episode was powered by Soul. Power, clarity, comfort. Soul Electronics. Definitely got to get you some of those. All right, guys. For my partners in crime, Zach Miller, Jason Shelkey, I am Josh Davis. Until next week, keep living the MMA Corner lifestyle.